Next level.
We are really happy to host you today with more than 500 already registrations or guests. I am sure many people who registered are eager to know and learn about your perspective about the current situation, where we're heading, your professional growth, ingredients of success. Allow me to start by asking you, how are you coping with the situation? I know that you are always on the go. You are traveling most of the time. So how are you adapting? What are you doing throughout the day? Any new hobbies, for example?
No, I think we have to readjust the way of doing things. Now, at least for the short term, definitely traveling is out of the question, but you have to combine between work and between, to a certain extent, socializing with distance and exercise. You have to keep, in my opinion, a healthy exercise in this, because with so much pressure we're having, whether it's health-wise or because of the business, you have to have your daily exercise.
Definitely, and also to keep mental health, to maintain this good mental health, we need to eat healthy and work out throughout the day. Because I think the consequences of the crisis will have major impact on people's mental health, especially children and teenagers who don't really comprehend what's going on. So, Samir, you run a family-based company, which was founded back in the 50s. And now it's one of the largest, it's the largest construction company in the Middle East and ranked among the top 20 international contractors. So how hard is it to run such a business, and what differentiates family-based business from non-family-based business?
Basically, the successful family businesses adapt to the values of the founders. And we have a very solid CCC culture. Our culture is inherited from uncle and from my father, which is honesty, modesty, humility, hard work, and love of God. So basically, you think long-term, you think reputation. You don't think for short-term profits today, and after 2-3 years, somebody will come and say, look, these guys, what they have done for me.
Absolutely. So as a person, as a CEO and president of the engineering and construction at CCC, how do you think your childhood and youthful years impacted the person you are today, or the success that you have reached? Did you have any challenges? Did you have any turning points in your life that impacted you?
My childhood was very good. We were between Lebanon and Kuwait, two nice cities, and we got to know the difference in culture between the Gulf and the Levant, which was very important. And this teaches you two things. Teach you first to expect the unexpected, and they teach you to be flexible and adapt. If you want to succeed in this life, don't take anything for granted. For example, this COVID-19, who would have expected today? I would have been locked for 9 weeks in Athens, not traveling. I used to travel every week.
So moving into your professional growth with CCC, CCC is a multi-billion company with more than 120,000 workforce operating in around 40 countries and 4 continents. What differentiates you? What differentiates CCC in such a competitive industry? What makes you stand out?
I think I would say 3 things. First is that since we are a family-based company, we protect our name, CCC name. That means we never walk away on any job. This is number 1. Number 2, we always put ourselves in the client's shoes. What does the client want? We look at how we can make at best the advantage, not only our advantage. We put ourselves in his shoes, what's the advantage? Third is we call ourselves, and this many times we have put it in our ads, a company that cares. We care about the governments we work in, the societies, we care about the employees, we care about the subcontractor, the banks. So we are not in it only for ourselves, we're in it for the whole value chain.
You live in Greece, a country that already faced a lot of economic difficulties and economic crisis. Now the whole world is going through this crisis because of the corona. And as a business or industry, how are you being impacted? What solutions are you providing? For example, how are you balancing between between applying workers' safety measures, especially that you are a labor-intensive industry, and meeting project deadlines or government's demands? How are you doing that? It's really hard, no?
Yes, I will try to answer that question in two parts. In Greece here, we have about 450 people, and this is our head office. We've managed to group the groups into A and B, and not everybody comes at the same time. Plus, we have managed to agree that about 100 of them will work, or employee work from the house all the time. So basically, this way you eliminate the density. And plus, we took all the measures in the office. I come here every day to the office, and now all our meetings are virtual. Even if I'm in the office, I meet the lower floors, our guys. We only meet if we have to meet. And you move more into digitalization. This is in Athens. Now, in the projects, we have 40 projects or 40 some projects around the world. I would say 10 of them have been almost stopped. The other 30 are still working. And how did we do that? Number one is we took as much as we can testing in our hands with the government. We did more testing. Wherever we feel people have COVID-19, we put their own separation area. We have increased the doctors. We have tried to work in areas that are less congestion. For example, if you had a building and you had in a floor 20 people, now we work with 10. We introduced more double shifts, basically working day and night. So basically, I think the construction industry now has to adapt to the new way, because until we find the vaccine, people are going to be worried.
To be a good manager or a good CEO or to run such a big business, you need to always mitigate risks and have risk management plans, right? But in such a fast-changing environment with such changing variables and crises, how do you maintain this equation? How do you make sure that the risk doesn't blow out of the proportion? And how do you balance that?
I think the giant oil company Shell predicted that 20 or 30 years ago. They used the scenario forecasting. Basically, you sit and you say, what could happen in the next 6, 12, 18, 20 months? Put several scenarios and position your company among these 3 scenarios. And then try to act or make the best pathway for your companies and decisions where you have the minimal downside effect on these 3 scenarios. Scenario driven, basically, because no one can predict the future, but you can assume certain assumptions and try to manage. And the second point is very important, is that if you notice change, adapt quickly to it. Don't wait till it's too late.
So in your opinion, what do you think are the most foreseeable top 5 or 3 or 2 foreseeable risks in the coming 5 years?
Number one, of course, cash flow. Throughout the region, we have a shortage of cash flow. Second point is that the consumers, since there is a recession, the consumers will not be spending enough. So that means you're going to have a divergence from certain industry. For example, malls, shopping, I'm sure that they're going to be, so we have to react to it as in our industry. Third, people are going to be more and more concerned on their health, whether it's your personal health, whether it's their company's health. So basically, that will rise as an important. Fourth, I think, is the value chain. Today, if you procure certain stuff from China, you produce it from England, now you have to think, I'd rather look at my smaller circle. How can I shift my procurement values?
Back to my question about investment, and which country do you think will provide the best investment climate in the coming years, after Corona specifically, and why?
Definitely the Gulf. Gulf will remain the number one, GCC countries. The second, I would focus on Africa.
So you spoke about digitalization, and I know that you usually say digitalization is here to stay, but it cannot replace the human factor.
Correct.
So taking into consideration the current circumstances, of course, everything is moving towards digitalization, more robotics, more automation. How do you see the value? To what extent Do you include automation in the business that you do?
I think today, as we speak, you still need human beings to do normal construction. However, if you go to oil and gas projects, you'll move more into modularization. But I don't think the humans or capital-intensive industry, like the construction industry, can be replaced by robotics.
Now we have entrepreneurs or young people listening to us. Would you advise them to do their startups or go and secure a good job, well-paid job in a big company, well-established? What would you say?
I do a lot of this to my own kids and to the family and CC employees. My advice is, first, get your experience in a real job. Get your experience in a real job and learn how the business is, and then go into startups. Many people these days want to go quickly. They want to go very fast. They don't have the patience. And I think it's very important to learn the discipline of hard work, discipline of learning to listen to your boss, and the discipline of operating in an organized fashion. Then you can do your own startup.
So do you usually support startups, and in which sectors specifically?
Yeah, we have created 4 years ago CC Startup, and we invested in some startup. But more important than investing, we use CCC as a trial for them. I can specifically, without mentioning names because I don't know the names, a company that does hard hats and that has on it sensors. You know where is the labor, where they are, how you monitor productivity. That's one app. Another one is 3D printing. Basically, where you print, for example, spare parts. If you are in the middle of the desert, 500 kilos, and you have a problem of a spare part, a certain machine is not working, you can actually print the spare parts.
You spoke about the importance of retraining people for the coming phase, retraining workers, retraining laborers. So can we say that we will see a lot of emerging startups or companies that will emphasize on building the capacities, the human capital, investing in the skills of those people? What are the main skills that you think we will need for the coming years and that we need to work on?
I think the best thing is that you should follow what you think. For example, healthcare, for example. We have, on the board of one of the companies, an American company called Education, EFE, Education for Employment. Basically, if you take somebody who is graduated from whether a university or not university, or a Ma'had, for example, you take them and you find a company that is hiring people. You tell the company, I will train for you 100 people, 200 people. All you have to do is pay a little bit, and I'll make that course doable for you. Then you ask the students that the first year, they pay 10% of their salaries to train another individual. This company, this NGO, in the last 4 or 5 years, operated in Palestine, Jordan, Morocco, Egypt, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. I don't know the number, but I think we have trained in excess of 70,000 people.
I know that CC has a very strong CSR policy, and they do support different causes. Which causes do you invest in more, youth, education, or else?
Education, healthcare. We do lots in, for example, supporting families. But and for example, here in Greece, we do foresting, making trees. We do cleaning beaches. We go for elderly homes, and this is volunteers. Volunteers from the company, and some hours they do it themselves, the employees. Some hours we give them paid hours.
I have some quick questions with quick answers. I need 3 tips to win a project bid. What are the key 3 tips?
First one is you have to study it carefully, spend initially lots of time on it. Second point is that put yourself in the client's shoes. What is he looking for? And third, you have to create a differentiator. what differentiates you from other, because everyone is bidding it. You have to make a niche for you that shows you're different than the other bidders.
Another question is, a building you wish CCC could have built, but didn't?
The museum here in Athens. It's a beautiful building.
So what's your dream project, your dream upcoming project?
There is many dream projects coming, but I think we are very, hopeful that the Gulf countries will continue the investment in the airports and in the metros and in the ports, because this is 3 areas that CCC has done a lot in the last 10 years, and I hope the economy of the Gulf will grow again, so CCC can win many of these dream projects coming.
And what is the most inspiring or interesting project you have worked on?
Several, but I would say we're doing the metro in Riyadh.
Closest to your heart.
The metro of Riyadh is a beautiful job we're doing right now. We did the Precision Palace in Abu Dhabi. It's a beautiful project.
Dubai Mall also.
Dubai Mall.
What keeps you grounded with such a success and running such a big company?
I think now everybody has to be grounded to think about the safety of himself, his family, and his colleagues.
Did you have any mentor? Personal mentor, professional mentor?
No, just my father.
What is a sentence or an advice he told you and still you kept it with you all those years?
He always said, he used to say this, I'll try to translate it in Arabic, that treat the king and treat the doorman the same.
This is my father's advice, by the way. The same, it's exactly the same. What is your recipe of success? 3 elements.
Recipe of success is that respect the others and respect yourself, and don't do anything to others that you don't want anyone to do to you.
Thank you so much, Samir, for this great inspirational talk. We're going to take now the questions of the audience. We have a lot of questions. I hope I can be able to answer some of them due to time limitations. What's the best way or steps need to be followed to start a small contracting company at the construction industry?
Find a partner. I don't advise someone to start a small company on his own. I think you have to find a partner that can complement you, at least whether financially or providing some new projects to start on. It's very risky in this industry, in my opinion, now to start your own construction company.
The second question is, how important is the HR department to CCC growth, and much the company owners are involved in order to make sure that the same CCC family values and ethics are really implemented and conveyed through all HR procedures?
It's very important. That's why my cousin and co-owner, Mr. Suhail Sabbal, is managing that. So I think you have to have a professional HR department, because also my dad used to say, your number 1 asset is your people. You have to keep them satisfied, keep them motivated. And again, I think in any construction is people. Construction company is people. If your people are not with you, you not get anything done.
In your opinion, what are the 3 main qualities to be an effective leader at a company?
Honesty. People should rely on you that you are honest. And lead by example. You cannot say others do something and you don't do it. And you have to, in my opinion, to be a visionary.
Samir, thank you so much for this amazing, amazing talk. I think you have pointed out so many important points and tips that we are all in need to hear. Talking about the ethics, the values of running a business, talking about supporting startups, the importance of training, and the importance, I guess, for me at least, what this situation and what Corona taught me is the importance of investing in young people, in the mind, and your education, having strong skills to survive and to adapt to any crisis or any situation.
I would like to end by a very nice Arabic proverb, which is, I think, timely. الوسادة تحمل رأس الغني والفقير، الكبير والصغير، الأمير والحارس، ولكن لا ينام بعمق إلا مرتاح الضمير.